Brazil bids farewell to football icon Pelé with a funeral in the Vila Belmiro Stadium in Sao Paulo. At least 14 inmates died and 24 are on the run after a prison riot in a penitentiary in Ciudad Juárez in the north of Mexico. In China, urban centers already passed COVID-19 peak with forecasts of upcoming outbreaks in countryside regions. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Thousands of football fans are saying a final farewell to Brazil football hero Pelé at the home of his former club Santos. The coffin of the 3-time World Cup winner was carried to the arena of the Brazilian club's Vila Belmiro Stadium, where he will lie in state for 24 hours. Pelé's casket will then be carried through the streets of Santos to the home of his 100-year-old mother. He will be buried on Tuesday in a private ceremony with only his family present at the Memorial Necropole Ecumenical, a vertical cemetery in Santos.
It is sad, very sad. It is a very difficult moment. I like the name and the anthem of Santos. I'm not from the world, but the world knows that name. And he's here at this moment and live in this club. And that's what matters for such a great institution. Edson Arantes de Nascimento was important for the planet, for soccer.
Hours after assuming his third term as head of state, Brazil President Luis Inácio da Silva reported he met with international leaders at the Itamaraty Palace in the country's capital. Among the heads of state and government on the South American president's agenda are the King of Spain, Philip VI, and heads of state of different nations, including Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. Likewise, he has scheduled meetings with high-ranking officials of other governments, such as the vice presidents of China and Cuba, Wang Qishan and Salvador Antonio Valdez Mesa, respectively. The Brazilian head of state is also to meet with the president of the Council of Ministers of Peru, Luis Alberto Tarola Peñarada, as well as with Jorge Rodriguez, president of the National Assembly of Venezuela. And Latin American leaders congratulated the new president of Brazil. This is the case of Cuba's President Miguel Díaz-Canel, who congratulated and wished Lula and the people of Brazil success and said that the Cuban people have always admired and defended his leadership. Meanwhile, Argentina's head of state Alberto Fernández published a video showing the joy of the Brazilian people at the arrival of Lula to power. Fernández expressed in his Twitter account, "The people of Brazil have succeeded. Now it will be easier to talk about integration in our great homeland, Lula in the place he deserves." On the other hand, the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, said in a brief message, "We are going for a fundamental alliance." Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro congratulated Lula and said in his Twitter account, "A new liberating wave is sweeping through the great homeland, opening path of geopolitical progress for the projects of South American Union. Our embrace to Lula and the Brazilian people." Also, Chilean President Gabriel Boric shared a message in which he said, "Hope, democracy, justice, and dignity for our peoples. With Lula we go together." Likewise, President of Bolivia, Luis Arce Catacora, celebrated the event, writing, "Now, yes, the road to Latin American integration is opening wider than ever so that our peoples can walk hand in hand towards peace and development with social justice." In a special interview with journalist Ignacio Ramonet, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro spoke about the normalization of relations with Colombia and the economic benefits already being reported from it.
In relation to trade, we have also taken important steps. It is estimated that the balance of trade amounted to over 600 million in the first few months. In the first few months, just 600 million, only at the beginning. And that has great potential for the balance of trade between Colombia and Venezuela.
Also, the peace talks were implemented in Venezuela with President Petro's project towards total peace, and we are giving all the support to all the peace initiatives, including the dialogues in Venezuela with the National Liberation Army. In that sense, Venezuela and Colombia are engaged in an embrace of reconciliation between brothers, and that is good news for both countries and for Latin America.
President Maduro emphasized Venezuela's potential in the energy field and considered a very possible step the recent license granted to the oil company Chevron.
Here in Venezuela, we have the largest certified oil reserves in the world. Here in Venezuela, we are certifying the fourth largest gas reserves in the world. Venezuela is an energy power. Nobody can take us out of the world energy equation. We are there. We are founders of OPEC, founders and leaders of OPEC+.
On Sunday, 10 security police officers and 4 prisoners died and 24 inmates ran away after a riot in a penitentiary in Ciudad Juárez in the north of Mexico. According to press reports, a shooting occurred at the Social Rehabilitation Center 3 while the inmates were enjoying a family visit for the New Year's celebration. While this was happening, an armed commando on board of vehicles arrived at the prison, opened fire, entered the facility, and extracted several inmates. The Attorney General's Office of the State of Chihuahua informed that the situation in the prison is under control and that 10 people were injured in the incident. Interim Prime Minister of Haiti, Ariel Henry, announced on Sunday that the so-called High Transitional Council will be installed this week. The announcement was made on the occasion of the anniversary of the country's independence, the first in Latin America and the Caribbean. The installation of the HCT is part of what Henry and other authorities have called a new beginning, intended to work towards a successful end of transition, which began after the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in July 2021. The HCT tries to be a commitment to an inclusive transition and transparent elections. Along with the Government Actions Control Body, it should lead to the formation of the Provisional Electoral Council with the objective of organizing the next elections in 2023. In the United States, more than 84,000 homes in 5 states remain without power on Monday due to the onslaught of the weekend's severe winter storm. According to data updated by the Power Outage Monitor, 84,242 customers in California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and Oregon remain in the dark. Sunday's outages affected more than 200,000 families in California and Nevada alone, where severe weather caused flooding in cities and counties. More than 5 inches of rain fell in California's San Francisco Bay Area, while Oakland recorded about 4 inches of precipitation. At least 16 states are under winter and/or wind alerts, and a winter storm is expected to bring near blizzard conditions to the upper Midwest in the next hours. Let us take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the south. Russia's defense ministry reported on Monday that 63 Russian soldiers were killed in the area of Makivka by a Ukrainian strike on a facility where military personnel were temporarily stationed. According to the Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov, the Kiev regime targeted a temporary deployment point of one of the units of the Russian armed forces near the settlement of Makivka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The ministry did not specify whether it was a vocational school, as had been mentioned in previous reports. According to the statement, Ukrainian forces fired 6 U.S. supply rockets from the HIMARS rocket launch system, and 2 of them were shot down. Igor Konashenkov said all necessary assistance and support will be provided to the relatives and friends of the killed servicemen. In the Donbass, at least 6 civilians, including patients and medical staff, were killed Sunday after Ukrainian armed forces shelled a hospital in the town of Pervomaysk in the Lugansk People's Republic. The mayor of the city of Pervomaysk, Sergei Kulyagin, said that the death toll could rise once the debris were removed. The number of casualties had been confirmed by the Deputy Medical Director of the facility, Tatiana Kovaleva. Press reports indicate that at the time of the bombing, physicians were performing a surgical operation and the patient had to be moved to a safe place. The hospital was left in ruins and its surgical units inoperative. At least 3 civilians, including a 3-month-old baby, were wounded. Croatia arrived in 2023 with 2 historic changes. It joined the border-free Schengen zone as the youngest member of the European Union and adopted the euro. At the Bergana border crossing with neighboring Slovenia, police installed a banner reading "Free Passage," symbolizing the end of border controls. Prime Minister Andres Plenković declared it a special and historic moment during a ceremony held at the border late Sunday. He was joined in the celebration by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who also hailed the occasion as a day for the history books or regalia. Around 6 hours after the basilica's doors were opened to the public, Vatican police estimate that close to 40,000 had filed by the body. Benedict died on Saturday at the age of 95 in the secluded Vatican monastery where he had lived since his shock resignation in 2013. In Italy, a total of 104,061 migrants disembarked in 2022, a figure much higher than the over 67,000 from the previous year and 3 times those recorded in 2020. According to the latest report issued by the Italian Ministry of the Interior, August was the month in which the largest numbers of arrivals took place, with 16,822 migrants landing in port. In the second semester, the arrivals increased, particularly at the end of the year, in view of the imminent entry into force of a new governmental decree law that intended to stop the flow. This led to December 28th being the day with the highest number of arrivals, with 939 people disembarking. According to the official report, migrants primarily came from Egypt, Tunisia, Bangladesh, Syria, and Afghanistan. In Australia, 2 helicopters collided in a tourist hotspot, killing 4 passengers and critically injuring 3 others. One helicopter was apparently taking off, and the other landing when they collided near the SeaWorld theme park at the main beach on the Gold Coast. While one of the vehicles landed safely on a sandbag, the other crashed, losing its windscreen. This resulted in the 3 casualties and the 3 most seriously injured passengers. Australian Transport Safety Bureau Chief Commissioner Angus Mitchell said an investigation into the cause of the crash was underway. On Monday, the European Parliament's President Roberta Metsola launched an urgent procedure to suspend the immunity of 2 of the body's members. On her Twitter account, Metsola indicated that this is following a request from the Belgian judicial authorities. According to the communiqué of the Parliament, the procedure might be carried out during a plenary session on January 16th. While the announcement did not give the names of the affected deputies, experts indicate they are Italian Andrea Cozzolino and Belgian Mark Tarabella, both linked to the corruption investigation that led to the arrest of Eva Kaili. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol announced on Monday that his government is discussing with Washington to carry out joint nuclear exercises as regional tensions heighten. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said Sunday that South Korea's military must respond firmly to North Korea's hostile actions. Last week, South Korea denounced an alleged air raid with drones, the first violation of its airspace from North Korea in 5 years. The chief of state explained that his military forces must punish any provocation by the enemy with a firm determination to avoid going to war, adding that only firm mental preparation and realistic training of the South Korean army can guarantee national security. We have more news coming up after a final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In China, cities such as Beijing and Shanghai have already passed the peak of COVID-19 infections and predict that the outbreaks could affect rural areas. Experts from the Shanghai Public Health Center say that the country's cities have already gone through the worst of the new COVID-19 outbreak. The outlying areas of the country are expected to face a resurgence of the disease during the next few weeks due to the removal of most of the nation's health restrictions. Meanwhile, experts from the National Health Commission assured that they continue taking all measures to relieve the pressure on hospitals which have experienced intense weeks due to the increase in coronavirus cases, while they are still working to accelerate the vaccination process. In India, on Monday, right-wing Hindu groups took to the streets to protest in Jammu after attacks on civilians at Dangri, a remote village in Indian-controlled Kashmir. 2 children were killed and 5 other civilians wounded in a blast a day after assailants sprayed bullets toward a row of homes, leaving at least 4 dead. Dangri village is located close to the highly militarized line of control, which divides the disputed region between India and Pakistan. Hundreds of people assembled in Dangri to protest the killings, chanting slogans denouncing the attackers. Nearly 3,000 people in the southern city of Jammu also protested the killings. Both India and Pakistan claimed the divided territory of Kashmir as tens of thousands of civilians, rebels and government forces have been killed in the conflict. On Monday, French Minister of the Armed Forces Sébastien Lecornu held talks with Lebanese government officials in Beirut. Lecornu did not speak to journalists after his meeting with Parliament Speaker Nabil Berri and Army Commander General Joseph Aoun. The talks were held in the same trip Lecornu was visiting French peacekeepers who are based in Lebanon's southern border with Israel. His visit comes as Lebanon remains without a head of state since the term of President Michel Aoun ended on October 31st, and Parliament has not succeeded in electing a new president. This small nation is also in the grips of its worst economic and financial crisis in its modern history. Lebanon was a French protectorate after World War I until independence in 1943. Malawi has delayed the opening of public schools in southern African major cities of Palantir and Lilongwe to try to slow down a surge in cholera deaths. According to a Monday report from the Health Ministry, the total number of cases and deaths has accelerated to 17,824 and 595, respectively, since cases were first reported in March, with the mortality rate increasing to 3.34%. Cholera is an annual problem during Malawi's rainy month from November to March, where the number of deaths is around 100 a year, but the current outbreak is expected to be the worst yet, with healthcare workers amongst the victims. On Sunday, Burundian Public Health and Aid Control Minister Sylvie Nsijamana declared an outbreak of cholera in Bujumbura. According to Nsijamana, 9 suspected cholera cases were identified on December 30th, 2022 in Northern Health District in the commercial capital Bujumbura, with symptoms of diarrhea and vomiting. Afterwards, 2 other suspected cases were identified in Mutakura neighborhood, close to Bukirasasi. Health authorities issued some preventive measures that include disinfecting households, educating the community on the risk of the epidemic propagation and behavior to be adopted, together with the search for other cholera cases in the community. The Burundian Health Ministry also banned the sale of cooked and raw food products on the streets in Bujumbura following the disease outbreak. We've come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.